This unit provides a brief introduction and insight into understanding mind maps. Before we begin to look at the wonders of mind maps, let's quickly have a look at how our brains actually work. So when we are presented with new information or new facts, our brain doesn't begin to process them in a linear or logical manner, one after the other. Instead, our brains are like a highway of connections, taking in new information from different sources and trying to make sense of it. At the end of the day, the brain is trying to create a deeper understanding of this information so that it can be stored in our memory correctly, so that we are able to recall it at a later stage. When we are given new information, the brain naturally wants to summarize it or organize this information. Now, the mind remembers keywords and images, not full sentences. And it's these keywords or images that are more likely to stay in our memory, which makes them easier for us to remember at a later stage. And then lastly, the brain naturally tries to make connections between information. And because mind maps are visual, we can see the connections made between content and facts and information, which can help learners to understand and make sense and create a deeper meaning of what they are reading. So let's take a look at why mind maps work. Why are they effective? Simply put, mind maps work in the exact same way that the brain works. They are first and foremost visually appealing, which we already know that the brain prefers images to long lists of information. They are interactive and creative, so learners have to actually engage with the information and work with it, opposed to just reading and trying to remember a list of facts. Mind maps help learners to make logical connections, and it is these connections that help learners to start thinking on a higher cognitive level. And lastly, mind maps assist the brain to turn facts and information into knowledge and insight. We want learners to move away from purely memorizing facts to being able to generate that understanding so they can provide valuable insight and personal opinions. A common problem in the classroom today is that learners are unable to interpret the questions that they are being asked in assessments and tests and exams. Learners are so used to remembering facts, but they lack the skills on how to apply these facts and how to use them to answer the question. So now the words you see on your screen are all verbs or keywords that tell the learner what they need to do. When a learner is asked to define something, do they know what they need to do? What is expected of them? How do they give a definition? There's a big difference between being asked to explain something as opposed to being asked to compare something. Each verb signals to the learner what level of thinking they need to answer the question. These are all key verbs that learners need to be familiar and comfortable with. Now, where mind maps fits in is that each mind map is centered around a key verb, such as define. And the mind map then guides the learners and trains them on how to answer these types of questions. What sort of information do you need and what connections need to be made? Learners are often able to regurgitate facts, but lack the skills needed to apply these facts and turn them into insight and knowledge. All teachers should be using mind maps in their classroom. They are unbelievably versatile and effective. They help learners to take in and make sense of new information. They facilitate and support the processing of this information, and ultimately they help generate a deeper understanding and insight of the content.